The explosion had left a ringing silence that still echoed in Captain Elias Rourke's skull. Every newsfeed across the Alios Concord replayed the same footage, a human soldier diving across the marble floor, shielding an alien diplomat whose skin shimmered like liquid glass. The shot froze on his arms around her, his face inches from haze, then cut to political chaos. They called it heroism. The Literati called it contamination. Now, 2 days later, Elias stood outside a set of mirrored doors that pulsed with faint blue light. Behind them waited the woman he wasn't supposed to touch, much less save, Ambassador Soraya Thalen, envoy of the crystalline worlds. He caught his reflection in the glass, tired eyes, uniform scorched at the collar, and a face that said, "I regret nothing and everything at once." A voice slid through the comm channel, smooth as polished silver. "Captain Rourke, enter." Her quarters looked like the inside of a star, walls alive with shifting light, air faintly humming. Soraya stood at the center, tall and impossibly composed. Her gaze met his without a word, and the lights dimmed around her, reacting to mood the way humans reacted to breath. "You ignored every interspecies protocol," she began. "You broke contact law, chain of command, and physical boundaries sacred to my kind." "And saved your life," Elias replied. "You're welcome." A long pause. Then, unexpectedly, "You are reckless, illogical, entirely human, and still your best option." Her crystalline eyelids flickered. "Perhaps." Moments later, she made it official. Elias Rourke was now her personal bodyguard, assigned indefinitely. The decision outraged both governments. For her, it was curiosity. For him, maybe redemption. As he followed her down the illuminated hall, diplomats stared. Whispers followed like static. He smirked under his breath. "You sure this is a good idea, Ambassador?" "No," she answered calmly. "But history rarely begins with good ideas." The hum of the station faded into the rhythm of their steps, human boots and alien grace moving side by side. Somewhere deep down, Elias already knew this assignment wasn't protection. It was the beginning of a war neither of them were ready for, the kind fought in silence, glances, and choices that rewrote entire galaxies. Elias learned quickly that serving as bodyguard to a Literati diplomat was less about muscle and more about survival, of patience. Every moment with Soraya felt like standing at attention inside a cathedral made of glass, where one wrong breath might crack the walls. Her world was precise. Every gesture, every pause in her speech, was measured in centuries of etiquette. His world was improvised, full of bad coffee and instinct. The two philosophies collided daily. He tried humor first. "You know, Ambassador, if you just installed human furniture, I might actually sit without fearing for my knees." "Human furniture," she echoed, expression unreadable. "Ah, you mean object designed for chaos." "Exactly." She didn't laugh, but the faint shimmer along her temples shifted color, a Literati equivalent of amusement, or maybe mild irritation. Elias counted it as a victory. When not arguing over semantics, he monitored her meetings. Something always felt off. Literati security officers whispered too often. Power grids flickered during her sessions. Once, an entire corridor's gravity failed for exactly 12 seconds. Coincidence didn't come that neatly timed. He mentioned it to Soraya after hours, expecting her to dismiss it. "Someone's testing your defenses," he said quietly. "Maybe testing me too." "The summit invites enemies as much as allies," she replied, eyes fixed on the stars beyond the viewport. "But I sense this is different. Targeted." For the first time, her tone held unease. It was subtle, barely a crack, but Elias caught it. Beneath the diplomat's calm, there was fear she wouldn't show to anyone else. He softened, choosing his next words carefully. "Then let them test us. They'll find you're a lot harder to kill than you look." "And you?" "I'm professional at bad odds." That made her glance at him, the faintest spark of recognition crossing her usually serene features. Later, as he stood watch outside her chamber, Elias found himself smiling. She wasn't what the briefing said. She was an untouchable marble. She was curious, calculating, alive. And whoever was orchestrating the silent threats clearly underestimated both of them. Somewhere in the station's humming core, danger was preparing its next move. And this time, Elias intended to see it coming. 3 days later, Aelio's Concord shimmered with a kind of false peace only diplomats could create. The grand ballroom floated at the station's highest tier, a dome of glass and gravity fields holding back the stars. It was meant to symbolize unity. To Elias, it felt like a trap built out of vanity. Soraya stood at the center of it all, poised beneath drifting light orbs. Her formal robes gleamed with shifting colors that pulsed with her heartbeat. She didn't look nervous, but Elias had learned that calm could be camouflage. He moved through the crowd quietly, scanning for patterns that didn't fit. Too many unfamiliar badges. Too many glances that lasted a second too long. His instincts prickled. Something was wrong. Then it happened. A ripple of sound, a low hum from the ventilation grid, so subtle that only his trained ear caught it. He shouted before thinking. Down! The explosion tore through the air like thunder made of glass. Energy shards slammed into the floor where Soraya had stood. Elias reached her first, tackling her behind a collapsed column. The heat scorched the side of his uniform, and smoke filled his lungs. "You're injured," she said, reaching toward him. "Just a scratch," he lied, pressing a hand to his ribs. "You all right?" "I'm intact, but you bled for me again." Her voice trembled, the glow beneath her skin flickering erratically. The room roared with chaos, guards shouting, alarms wailing, diplomats scattering like frightened birds. Through the haze, Elias spotted movement near the exit, a figure in a maintenance uniform, slipping away. He rose, ignoring the pain. "Stay with your people," he said. "They are not my people anymore," she answered softly. For a moment, everything stopped. The statement carried more weight than the blast itself. He turned back to her, realization dawning. "Someone inside your own ranks wants you dead, don't they?" She didn't answer, just looked at him with something that felt dangerously close to trust. Security rushed in seconds later, sealing the room. But Elias knew the truth before the reports came. This wasn't an attack on diplomacy. It was an execution attempt disguised as one. And somewhere deep in his gut, he knew it wouldn't be the last. The Aelio's Concord had never felt so silent. What used to hum with diplomacy now pulsed with fear. Hallways that once echoed with formal greetings were guarded by soldiers who didn't trust their own shadows. Elias sat outside the medbay, uniform torn, ribs taped, replaying the explosion over and over. Every angle confirmed the same truth. The assassin had access only possible from inside Soraya's delegation. When she finally emerged, her glow dimmed to a faint blue. He stood immediately. "You shouldn't be walking," he said. "You shouldn't be alive," she countered. "We are both stubborn creatures." For the first time, she smiled, not the formal mask she wore in meetings, but something quiet and human. He followed her into a restricted corridor where the glass walls revealed endless stars. "You knew this would happen," he said. "You felt it." "Suspected," she corrected. "Our intelligence warned of internal dissent, but I did not expect my mentor to lead it." Elias stopped. "Your mentor?" "Director Varen. He taught me diplomacy. He taught me restraint. Now he teaches others how to kill it." The words landed heavy. Betrayal never sounded so calm. Elias studied her profile against the starlight. Proud, wounded, impossibly composed. "Then let's expose him." "You think it's simple?" she asked, tone colder now. "Among my people, accusation without proof is treason. You have risked enough already. I didn't save you to quit halfway." She looked at him, really looked, as if weighing something invisible between them. "You speak as though my life matters to you beyond duty." He met her gaze without hesitation. "Maybe it does." The air between them shifted, charged and unspoken. For the first time, she didn't turn away. A faint alarm interrupted the moment, an encrypted data breach alert flashing on the corridor wall. Elias moved instantly, pulling her behind him. A transmission flickered open. Varen's face appeared, serene and venomous. "Ambassador Thalen," he said, "you were never meant to survive the peace you preach." The screen went black. Elias exhaled slowly. "Well," he said, forcing a crooked grin, "at least now we know who wants you dead." Soraya's eyes hardened. "Then we make him regret that certainty." And for the first time, they stopped reacting and started fighting back. The alarms never stopped. Red lights pulsed through the corridors, washing the metal walls in color that looked too much like blood. Elias ran beside Soraya, half guiding, half dragging her toward a communications chamber. Their breaths fogged in the cold air, the hum of the station trembling beneath them. "If we can transmit Varen's data logs to both councils, they'll have proof," Elias said. "Assuming we live long enough to reach the terminal," she replied, voice calm despite the chaos. Behind them, armored footsteps thundered closer. Varen's security team, loyal to him, not the truth. Elias ducked into a maintenance hatch, helping her crawl through. The narrow tunnel forced them shoulder to shoulder, the contact breaking every rule her culture held sacred. Neither mentioned it. They reached the chamber seconds before the lockdown sealed. Soraya rushed to the console, her hands glowing as she interfaced with the holographic controls. Lines of alien script danced in the air. "Almost there," she whispered. 30% transfer." A blast rocked the room. Elias threw himself between her and the doorway, returning fire toward the advancing guards. Pain burned across his arm, but he didn't stop. "Elias!" "Keep uploading," he shouted. She did, fingers trembling now. The transmission bar hit 98% when Varen himself stepped through the smoke, blade in hand, eyes cold and certain. "You've ruined centuries of order, child," he said. "For what? A human?" Soraya met his gaze. "For truth." Before he could strike, Elias lunged forward, tackling him into the console. Sparks flared. The system overloaded, the final packet of data shooting across every diplomatic channel in the sector. Varen's crimes, broadcast live. He fell, stunned. Security forces boasted moments later, their allegiance already shifting as the evidence reached command. Soraya knelt beside Elias, who was bleeding from a deep gash along his shoulder. "You should have let me handle it," she whispered. "I wasn't built for that kind of logic," he managed with a faint smile. Outside, the chaos stilled. The war that almost began was already dying. Days later, as peace talk resumed, Soraya stood beside Elias on the observation deck. She extended her hand, not as a diplomat, but as someone who had learned what humanity truly meant. "You broke every protocol," she said softly. "You broke more," he replied. And for the first time in recorded history, a Lirati laughed.